And we're back with some more oxygen not included. And today we're going to be looking at potential rocket interiors. In the last episode I put out a call for design ideas for basically filling the top half of this rocket with livable scenarios for at least 6 duplicants. And we have received a few replies. And by a few I mean 19, though Carlos is in there twice, so we'll see how that pans out. First up we have Epilogue 1212. This one here has a few side effects that I think would hurt the design, but let's just go over some of the positives. It has a shower. I've never really used showers. Wait, no, let me rephrase that. I've never built showers for my duplicates. However, also includes a full science setup, so you've got all of your science labs here and science lab production, though we have kind of knocked it out in our game, so we don't need that. Weird thing, though, is the oxygen production. I don't think there's going to be, there doesn't seem to be a water supply. The water seems to be filtered or strained from the nuclear reactor, which means the nuclear reactor is eventually going to run dry as all that water is turned into oxygen. So you need to overfill this before you leave, and then use this as sort of your water storage for your oxygen production, which is actually an interesting take on that. I mean, you could fit an awful lot of water in here. Huh. Well, you wouldn't want to, of course, overpressurize the reactor, but you could pressurize this up until just below 150 kilos, and the reactor would still function. Oh yeah, that water's slowly going to drain out, and you'd have to be careful not to overload your reactor, so there's no infinite liquid storage going on in here just yet. Downsides. Well, there's no radiation shielding over here at all. That's pretty toasty. That's 3,000 rads. And if anyone wants to use that material study terminal, they're going to need to get, a lot of health checkups, very frequently, because of the massive radiation poisoning. Oh, one minor thing as well. You can't have more than 3 wild-planted plants, unless... Actually, I don't think you can. The problem with them is pips can only do 3 in a row, then they have to take a 3-tile break, and then they can do another 3. Or you can do 1 with a gap in between, but you can't get more than 3 plants in a row from wild planting. There may be some tricks we could do around that if we were really determined. Oh, and massage tables. Perfect choice. A little bit of stress reduction while they're on other planets doing away missions might be a good choice. When it comes to food... Grooming station up here. I never thought to put an electric grill inside the stable. Turns out it's still a stable, even though it's got a refrigerator in it and the actual electric grill. Interesting choice. What we're going to be doing, though, is going through all of the designs that have been sent on and steal some of the best bits. Well, that's the theory. We're going to steal ideas from all the ones we look at and see if we can't put together something, an abomination Frankenstein of the wall, unless someone comes up with something truly exceptional. Next up, we have Luigi. And this is an interesting one. Alright, so they ripped out the bedrooms on the side and replaced this with a few plants. So this is actually a nature reserve, giving a nice +6 morale bonus to all of the duplicants in here every time they go up to their bedrooms and back down again. Basically, it's a one-way trip up here to get into the bedrooms, and every morning when they leave, they'll have to pass through the nature reserve. Then over here, you've got your bathroom, and then here, I actually like it, they stuck in some storage bin space, because you're always going to need storage space when you're going to other planets. Exosuit forge for repairing the exosuits in the exosuit docks. Bathroom. Then in here, okay... Poke shell is there to eat the polluted dirt that's produced by the water sieve. Water sieve is there to sieve the polluted water that's coming out of the toilet and sink. Then all of that gets fed into a thimbleweed. It's stifled at the moment, but that's going to be down to temperature regulation. That can be tweaked. There's no problems there. Including a spice grinder to speed up the cooking. And food-wise, I'm not sure where the food is coming from just yet. But over here we've got infinite water storage. So there's just absolutely oodles of liquid here. That liquid is pumped across and sent into the electrolyzer. So the water out of this sort of cools down the oxygen, and then the oxygen, and as it comes out, is sent through here, sent across... The oxygen is filtered out using powerless filters, and that oxygen is sent out into the rest of the base. The hydrogen is just sent down here and dumped out into the background vacuum of space. This is like one of those input ports. So once this thing is... all the waste gas, which is hydrogen in this case, there's no point burning it. You're just sitting on a nuclear reactor. You've got all the power you want. And this here filters out all the carbon dioxide that accumulates in the bottom right of the map. However, there is an interesting quirk on this one. This infinite water storage over here, it interacts weirdly with radiation. Yeah, there's sort of a lensing effect. So somehow the radiation, which is reduced to 300 rads here, hits the steel tiles here, and then somehow it's completely absorbed by all this water, and then somehow magnified on the other side. There's 7,000 rads just beaming out on the other side. This side there's 9,000 or so, but it's literally been reduced. I don't know how this is happening. It just doesn't make sense. But it's a thing that happens. We could fix that. There's ways around that if we need to, but I do like the idea of this. That is why this door here is locked, by the way. It's just any duplicants that try to sleep in that bed are going to wake up dead. So, yeah, interesting. I do like it, especially because it's got they actually bothered to put in storage bins and an exosuit forge. This seems like a very efficient little design, and the comfy beds that everyone gets, hell yeah, why not? A little bit of extra morale for everyone while traveling abroad. Seems wonderful. Oh, I totally forgot. Food storage. So the food is stored down here. So I'm thinking what you do is you'd land, we'd load up on like 1,000,000 calories worth of barbecue, we just chuck it in here and done. This is cooled down by a thermoregulator down here using a little bit of hydrogen. Thing is, though, they've put in chlorine in here. Now, chlorine is fine. The problem is that acts as a temperature transfer medium between it and this naphtha, which means this thing is going to start spreading chill out real. It's going to become a problem. You can see here it's 15 degrees. It's 19 degrees on the tile. It's just going to keep dumping chill in here. If we can handle that, fine. But I'd prefer to remove the chlorine and just have the food sitting on top of the tile. It'll be deep frozen anyway, probably when we introduce it. And we need to put in... there's already one here. We need to put in a conveyor loader and have some way of getting the food in here, or increments of the food in here, so that we don't end up with too much. There's workarounds and all of that, but I definitely like some of the ideas. Next up we got Jake, and Jake went a different method. Onboard food production, and strapped on top of the research reactor as well. This way you've got a bunch of radiated crops so we could grow some mutated seeds in here. Which ones we want, Jake left up to us, but for the time being there is some grub fruit in there. Of course, a couple of the grubs in there to help with the rubs, and the farming station also. And the whole thing is set behind some lead suit docks so that the duplicants can come in. Well, exosuit forge is back here, but the duplicants can also use lead suits to protect themselves from the rads. Conveyor loader for feeding the nuclear reactor. Good call. Massage tables could also be ripped out to put in storage bins. Cooking area up here. Oh, dual bedrooms instead of just making them all one, just to squeeze them in nice and neatly. And carpeted tile with little cats on them. That's default. I don't think I've got any mods installed at the moment as well. All right, and then over here we've got bathrooms and sinks. This seems to be a one-way system in and out. Personally, I'd only go with one toilet and one sink, because with 6 duplicants, I mean, you can just set them up on 6 different schedules. Putting in the extra toilets might be nice, but I'd prefer to save the space. Oh, and another nature reserve. Very popular, it seems. And a hospital. Yep. This, Jake knows I'm going to skull those dupes at some point, and having a hospital might be pretty handy. Alright, now this one I like for the farming idea. Strapping that on top of the reactor. I was actually thinking about just insulating the reactor out of it so no radiation gets in, but maybe using it for a bit of farming might not be a bad idea. Does require the lead suit docks, but we'll see. Only downsides, there's no oxygen production in this base. This is... they left out the oxygen production, but included the food. But I do like some of the ideas. This is an interesting design by Chaosstripe. Now, I do like that they had so much space that they decided to chuck an entire monument in here. That's just, that's styling a little bit on the challenge, I think. But it is an entirely radiated monument, so, you know, good idea. For oxygen, they went a different route. Oxalite. Dump a whole bunch of oxalite into the rocket, and then use that to provide the oxygen. Downside, they're using a single gas pump. That's 500 grams of oxygen. That's not going to work out for 6 duplicants. There'll be a few problems. Though what you could do is... Ooh. Yeah, put in, say, a mesh tile to allow the oxygen here to flow out. You just have to make sure no carbon dioxide could backflow in. If you could do that, you could actually allow that the oxalite to help oxygenate the place. Or even better... There you go. Put some airflow tiles beneath it. That way the oxalite can actually flow down into the rest of the base. Carbon dioxide should not be able to get up that high, but, you know, worst case scenario, if it does start doing it, you can put on a filter on this. And here I would probably... There. That way the oxygen flows on priority-wise to the atmosuits, and then the rest of it can flow down here that way. That way it just it prioritizes the atmosuits so they can get some work done, and when they're not in the atmosuits, this oxygen... or when this is soaking up most of the oxygen, the oxalite here will flow out for the rest of the base. Might not make it a very pleasant place to live, but it should mean they never actually run out of oxygen. Would mean we need to produce a lot of oxalite for this rocket, and it would be very limited on what it could... You know what? Not going to worry about it. One other nice little trick they did, they stuck the food storage down right here. Unlike... oh, damn it, I can't remember the last one that was over here, this one had to be insulated heavily. This one, there's actually, well, vacuum beneath it, so you don't have to worry. It cuts down on a layer of insulated tile, simplifies things, and moves it much closer to the thermoregulator. This is a nice addition. As well as that, room-wise, there was a lot of thought that went into this, because this is the Great Hall. So this is wonderful, they can come in here. But if they want to get into the bedrooms, this is a unidirectional door. The only way into the bedrooms is through here, and the only way out is through the bathroom. And that leads directly to a nature reserve. So it gives you that one-way flow, At the same time, ooh, I do like this. There's a lot of good ideas mixed in here. And included storage bins. And an exosuit forge. Food-wise, well, okay, they went with the Pacu, but they're all overcrowded. They will die. So, yeah, they're not going to have time to drop an egg, unless I'm missing something here. No, from what I can see, there's no way for those the eggs to get out of there, so we could set up some automation for that, but this idea, definitely some good ideas I'd like to steal here. Only problems I can see with this would be, say, down here. Carbon dioxide is going to accumulate in this section. It's just there's no way for the carbon dioxide to get out and over to the extraction pump over here. There'd need to be some changes made on that front, or you could move this whole surf and turf thing over to this section, though. I do like how close it is. You know what? Worry about it later. Ooh, you know what you could do? You might be able to get a gas pump and stick it in there. So instead of we could have a gas pump here and a gas pump there, even with half of it in the liquid, it wouldn't make a difference. And it can pump the gases out from this side. I mean, it would add more power draw, but we've got a nuclear reactor. Power is not an issue. There's ways around a bunch of this stuff, and there's all this extra space over here we're not using. I like this one. I think I gotta give it to Chaosstripe so far in the lead for just, this is some good ideas, nice compactness, and we've still got a bunch of leftover space we could use to throw in some extra junk if we really felt like it, like, I don't know, some radioactive farms or something like that. Carlos here went a completely different direction. This is actually Carlos's number 2 save. The number 1 save and number 2 save were similar in many respects, but this one was when they went, yeah, let's just go max Saturn critter traps. The plan here is that the beta hives produce those little bee tinies. The bee tinies get eaten by the Saturn critter traps, and they give off hydrogen. The thing is, according to the wiki, these things give off the same amount of hydrogen whether or not they're wild or actually planted, which means these things are giving off about 25 kilos of hydrogen per cycle, which is kind of mental. 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15. That means they could run about 6.25 hydrogen generators indefinitely. That's a lot of power. Now, in the previous one, they actually had solar power panels on top to help, generate more power. But this one just seems like all out, let's just go Saturn critter traps and lots of power. Seems like a fun plan. We can't go that way, though. We don't actually have Saturn critter traps on our current map, but interesting theory. Now, water-wise, they say they've got a bit of a problem. They haven't actually set up a way to get the water in or out, or, they don't have an infinite water storage. Infinite water storage would solve that problem. And for gases, they also went with, just providing that normally. However, for the hydrogen, you can see all of that coming down there, but you can also see, cooling-wise, they went with, they're running petroleum down here to cool down this entire area, because to keep these things working, you need to keep them about minus 30 degrees. However, this is, I think you can kind of get rid of that, as long as you're not sending people in and out of there all the time. The temperature usually remains pretty stable, from what I recall. But yeah, interesting take. I kind of had forgotten how powerful Saturn critter traps are, and that you could plant them wild and still get the maximum amount of hydrogen out of them. That means if you had about 24 of these, like 24 wild Saturn critter traps, would generate about the same amount of power as a nuclear reactor. You would need to hook up, well, pay for the cost of running 2 gas pumps, and you're going to need space for about 8 or 9 hydrogen generators. But it would be an interesting way to try things. The rest of this is all pretty standard, except for there's a gas pump over here just to help clean out the carbon dioxide. There's a carbon dioxide extractor here, and down here this seems to have been completely vacuumed out. I'm not sure how this carbon dioxide is supposed to get out. You know what? Not going to worry about it. Oh, and over here there is a door. I presume this is an emergency vent. Yeah, there's an automation signal going up to this. There's an emergency vent there, and this is the gas escape for all the overflow carbon dioxide. Okay, interesting. Not going to be stealing this the Saturn design, though. I can't be using that. We just don't have enough of them on our current map. Well, maybe. It depends once we get to the radioactive planet. For our next design, we've got Gail Ramon and the Cuddle Pips. Anyone want to cuddle that pip? Seriously? Very rough collie. Get over here. There's a pip that needs cuddling. Come on. Seriously? Hoping for hugs? You're a monster. Dear Lord. What's wrong with you? Ugh. That is just mean. Alright. Hey, about time you figured it out. But, okay. Sorry, where was I? Ah, yes. Interesting thing here, they strapped a thermal aquatuner right here on top of the nuclear reactor. Have to bring this up an extra couple of tiles. That allows them to do some cooling here for some sleet wheat. This is super coolant to keep the sleet wheat cool. But the whole point of this is you get bristle blossoms, you get sleet wheat, and you make berry sludge. That keeps all the food fresh. You don't have to worry about deep freezing it or anything like that. Interesting portable food production. Downsides, though, are another thing that's included is these cuddle pips. The cuddle pips are going to live on the thimbleweed, and the thimbleweed will support them, and they'll also produce dirt. The dirt can be used to go into the sleet wheat, and that should provide you with enough food to keep all the duplicants sorted. Downsides are water input. They haven't figured out a way to squeeze in an infinite liquid storage or something like that, so they're stuck bringing in the liquid from outside. So we need to bring a large tank of water with us, or could strap a giant water tank onto the rocket and then use it that way. How big are the water tanks again? 27,000 kilos. So we could carry 27,000 kilos of water on the outside. Might be something to look into. I would actually be okay with that. The electrolyzer is overpressurized, and the hydrogen flows down through here and gets stuck into this room. Then it's burned off once the pressure gets above a certain amount. Personally, I would probably just vent the hydrogen into space. Get rid of a lot of it. You don't need it. We've got enough power with the nuclear reactor that you could dump all of this. But I definitely do like the idea of an overpressurized electrolyzer. It cuts down on space. We don't have to worry about a bunch of things. And pre-sorting the gases cuts down on filtration and all that. Having 6 duplicants was probably a bit mean when I was deciding to make this because, well, you do need 2 gas pumps to keep them fully oxygenated. Though there could be a way around that. Like what you could do is have in 1 gas pump, maybe stick in an air mesh tile here, and then some sort of gas pressure sensor. That way some of the oxygen flows out. You would have to make sure nothing could backfill it, like carbon dioxide or something like that. No, actually, that's introducing complication. It's a potential idea, but I think I would prefer if that was then higher up in the base. Oh, interesting ideas. One thing I really do like the idea of, though, is the sleet wheat, but use the mutated variety. If we use some exuberant sleet wheat, throw in some fertilizer, we could have, say, 2 of those mutated sleet wheat with fertilizer, and it would provide enough food for 6 duplicants. Just 2 sleet wheat. We could put in 3 just to be ultra safe. I like the idea of that. I like the idea of that a lot. That would actually be all of the food in just a really small area. You would need dirt, fertilizer, and water, but I think all of that could be stored. Like, we could definitely store enough to keep the duplicants running for, like, 1,000 cycles probably on 1 ship, with a little bit of effort. Interesting design. I'm definitely leaning heavily into the sleet wheat, and we're definitely nicking that electrolyzer. Our next design is from Southern Skies. Now, they had a little bit of extra space here. You can tell by the beach chair that's there. But, they've also included some storage bins. There's a couple of things that I'm interested in here, though. One is the shovels. I never thought to do that. We have about 50 or so shovels just sitting in our colony. We could stick about 30 of them in here, and then even if we didn't ranch them or groom them or anything, they'd drop enough meat over their life cycle. Like, they die every 100 cycles, but the amount of meat they drop, assuming we could keep them all as shovels, would feed the whole rocket. So we could just keep shovels and just not ranch them, not do anything with them, lock them in a corner, and then have the auto sweeper sweep out the meat. Just so long as we keep their temperatures high enough that they don't start turning all into delectables. That would probably be the most cost-efficient way of doing it. Oh, and squishing up a water storage right here at the edge of the map, I like that idea, because you're basically taking 2 tiles here. You don't need to build them, because, well, it's the edge of the map, so you don't need to put in any airflow tiles or anything to keep the thing contained. This idea I like. What is this all about? Liquid pump. You can turn it on and off. Smart plan. Water comes in from... So the output of the toilets and sinks, that gets shunted back into the toilets and sinks. Any overflow would get sent over here. You're going to end up with a bunch of germs in there, but that's fine. Place will be grand, even if it does get germs. And then this tank gets filled. Like, to fill this, though, you would need to hook it up to, say, one of these inputs. So I suppose you can just land it, hook it up, start filling it up with water from there. Then the extra goes over here, and that gets turned into oxygen. Same problem again, though. Single gas pump for 6 duplicants. That would cause an issue over long enough time. There's a whole lot of oxygen there. Wouldn't be too hard to fix it. What you do is rip out that shower, drop this down a couple of blocks, and then you could throw in a second gas pump. Problem solved. Food storage is way up high. Not totally against it. It's just, you can see the whole bunch of piping there. I kind of preferred the lower down one. Saved a bunch of space. Ooh. And, look at that. You get a lit workplace bonus during the right time of day. Well, okay, not now, because it's in the middle of the night, but during the day, there'll be a lit workspace bonus on that particular tile. Place does need a little bit of micromanagement, though, on the temperature front. You can use a temperature controller down here. That is what's cooling down the oxygen supply. Then you've got a second temperature controller over here, which appears to be cooling down all the base. Personally, I just go with cooling down all the base. Why bother cooling down the oxygen if the whole base is going to get cooled anyway? So, I do like it, and okay, fine, I know I was going nuts for the sleetweed a minute ago. 2, mutated sleetweed would be great, but these could be even more efficient and cut down and give us a whole bunch of space. And there's 2 telescopes. Don't know why there's 2, but I admire the hustle. Yep, definitely a load of extra space. And is that... That is, yep, that's a nature reserve, plus 6 morale bonus. Well, part of the kitchen. Interesting. Huh. Because you don't really need to cook that quickly. For 6 duplicants, a good cook is going to cover it just fine. No, not going to think about that too much. But yeah, I do like the design. A few things here. Definitely the shovels we're going to steal. And yeah, submerged electrolyzer is definitely a good choice. Exosuit forge, I'm pretty sure that's natural all across the board. The massage tables and the apothecary, not really feeling it, to be honest. I'm a little bit more mercenary about the needs of our duplicants. Next up we got Hori, and Hori here has gone with a slightly different approach. When it comes to the liquid storage, they've decided that they're going to do a downward one. If you put crude oil, it sinks, so you can do your overpressurization from below. The previous one was using, I'm pretty sure it was petroleum, to make sure that we can overpressurize. And yeah, exosuit forge as well, a few thimble reeds, and a tiny park. Not a nature reserve, a park. Everyone seems to be hanging out in there as well. Bathrooms as well, and all the duplicants got their bedrooms down the side. They've also went with bristle blossoms and sleet wheat for the berry sledge. However, a few major differences. One, the cooling for it is coming from over here. They've stuck in an extra heat deletion device instead of using the area down here. So you've got yourself a gas cooling on the sleet wheat. So the sleet wheat is actually growing on water that's like 26 degrees. Is that going to be able to remain cool enough is my question. I mean, I don't even know what this is set to. What are you set to there? You're set to 0 degrees. Ooh, that's going to be tricky to keep the pressure that low enough. And also there's a bunch of automation over here with ribbon readers and unnamed broadcasters and stuff that I'm kind of curious about, but I can't look too deeply into because we still got too many designs to go through. So food-wise, all self-contained. Oxygen-wise, small bit of a problem. All the atmosuits are getting filled up by this tiny gas pump over here. That's going to take an eternity. It's 50 grams a second, which means it's only got enough to provide oxygen for half a duplicant in each suit. That's just, no, we need a larger gas pump to actually take care of that. So it's basically not a bad idea to actually use a big gas pump, then have a filtration system on it to filter out the carbon dioxide. With 2 of those, you could definitely fill up the suits from internal oxygen. Also, and the oxygenation from over here, it just comes directly from the electrolyzer. So this thing here is an overpressurized electrolyzer. Hydrogen goes up the top, oxygen goes out the side, and the oxygen flows down here and gets forced out. So when the gas pressure in here goes below 2 kilos, electrolyzer activates, and it then keeps pressurizing the area out here until the oxygen goes above 2 kilos. Should mean that the gas pressure as we get further and further right gets weaker. Oh yeah, we're down to 500 grams and stuff. Who cares in a rocket this size? It just means you're passively able to oxygenate the rocket, you shouldn't get any overpressurized eardrums. Okay, fine, you're going to have a few minor annoyances with carbon dioxide, but I think that's actually a nice idea. Saves on a bunch of effort, and it kind of reduces the need to actually put in a gas pump. Now, they have got hydrogen up here. Now, I think they're kind of stuck, though, leaving that in. I don't know how the problem is if we just leave that open to space, what will happen is eventually you might end up with it stopping long enough that all the hydrogen disappears and you could get some weird gas overwriting and oxygen flowing at the top. So I think you're kind of stuck there. You could keep overpressurizing it, but eventually you're going to end up with so much hydrogen in here that it's going to hit that deletion point. I don't know if that crashes out the game or it just starts deleting the hydrogen. Decisions, and so many little options and tweaks you can pick up as you go along. Nice idea. Crispy Duck here has a few interesting ideas, and ones we might have seen before, but slightly modified. For example, infinite liquid storage here, but they're using naphtha on the ground floor with a parallel liquid vent here. Instead of having it in a dip, they've just dumped it there. That's an interesting way to go about it. They also could have put it up there, it seems. Maybe they did for a while, but then they modified it. Also, electrolyzer that is currently flooded. Building cannot function at current... Okay, maybe a little bit too much liquid there. 190 kilos of petroleum. Someone went a little bit overboard, methinks. Made a few changes, and now it seems to be working again. Perfect. So hydrogen gets pumped in here. There's no actual output for it. They also realize there's no point. They don't need to output it anywhere. Oxygen all goes up here, and 2 gas pumps this time around to make sure that there's enough oxygen provided to the Atmos suits and to the rest of the base. It seems the oxygen's just getting dumped out in, well, 2 locations. One here, one here. All the carbon dioxide ends up floating down to this corner and getting filtered out by that little tiny gas pump. And done. Same beds that I put in at the very start. However, they've got a few things here like, Nature reserve, very popular that seems. Double bathroom with showers, and then at the very end the water, polluted water gets sieved here, and you'll notice that there's a poke shell. Poke shells to eat the polluted dirt, and you can lock these doors. Just copy that and paste. So that way no duplicants can get in. So if this does lay an egg, you don't have to go in there because there's 20 kilos of sand to keep it going. And duplicants can actually drop off sand from the opposite side of this door. So this thing should be fine, in theory. Very convenient. Oh, this thing over here is a little bit messy, but this is the food storage. It's in a vacuum though, so I don't know what these 3 metal tiles are doing here. I think there was a little bit of experimentation going on there. And that is cooled by this thermoregulator down here. Very popular, this thermoregulator section. As well as that, you'll notice that there's no lower down areas where carbon dioxide can accumulate. All the carbon dioxide has to flow down towards that bottom right, and there's these gas areas here, or airflow tiles here to help things go through. And an artifact analysis station, which I like, because you're definitely going to need one of those. Loads of storage bins as well. This actually works out quite nicely. There's no food production on board, which is the only downside, but there's loads of extra space. Like, I mean, rip out a shower, 1 toilet, 1 sink, take out the massage tables and stuff, and you've got plenty of space. There's even a triage cot in here. Like, I definitely like the look of this section over here. I think I would like to steal a bunch of that. I might move the food down, though. If you move the food down here, you could actually stick it into this section. Oh, and radiation-wise, it's all nicely contained. Even with the amplification effect from down here, only, oh my god, 4,631 rads. Yeah, the lensing effect of compressed liquid is really strange. Like, duplicants standing there even for a few seconds is painfully dangerous. Good thing those poke shells don't seem to care. Yeah, I don't know what they're made of, but it's definitely not anything human-related. Then again, I suppose neither are the dupes. I mean, they're genetic ooze. They're not flesh-adjacent. Wait a minute, why is there a second thermoregulator? Ah, that's cooling down the rest of the base. Okay, so basically the plan would be you would just pump in lots and lots and lots of water. That water would be stored over here and allow you to produce oxygen for as long as that thing's got water in it. At the same time, food-wise, you would just dump in, well, as much food as you need. Berry sludge works, but I mean, considering this is a deep freeze storage, you could just dump in 1 million or 2 million calories of barbecue, you're good to go. Or surf and turf for, actually, I think we've got about 9 million calories of frost burger. So we could definitely load up more than enough food to keep the duplicants going for like 1,000 cycles or something like that. Nice. Oh, and telescope with window tiles. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Oh, I didn't notice that until I read the notes that came with it. You can deconstruct these lead tiles, and you actually have a way to get down into the reactor. That's smart. Next up, we have Mr. Selenix, and this one goes with an interesting method. Over here, we've got a liquid duplicator. This is for duplicating liquids, and I've tended to avoid these in the past. I felt like they trivialized a lot of things, but sticking them into a rocket really does help. What's kind of going on here is, let me demonstrate. There's a layer of water along here. There is a block here. I'm not exactly sure how these work. All I know is that as you pour liquid down here, half of it gets duplicated out one side, or is it a quarter of it? Something along those lines. So what's happening is, this is picking up 10 kilos of polluted water, pumping it back over here. It drops down in this section, and then it duplicates, and you end up with extra water. About 2.5 kilos of water per second. You can do this with a lot of liquids. That's terrifying. Imagine being able to just duplicate all the water you want. You can use this, most people use to just duplicate lots of water, and it trivializes water. You can also do it with some oils. I think liquid metals it can even be done with as well, but you have to sort of mess around with what metals make the basis and what metals floats on top. There's limits, basically. But that means you end up with all of this polluted water coming over here, and then it gets picked up by 2 mini pumps. I'm not sure why they went the 2 mini pump route. I assume it's because they're limiting it to 1 kilo of water. Anyway, that water comes down here, it goes into the water sieve, the clean water goes over here, gets fed into the electrolyzer, the rest of it just keeps getting fed down here into the thimble reeds, which are currently, like, yeah, they're body temperature problems. We'll come back to that, but that basically provides all of the water necessary for the oxygenation and for the actual thimble reeds to feed the exosuit forge to keep all of your atmosuits going. Food-wise, we got nothing but Paku. Paku, 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 and more Paku. Now, according to Selenix, these things should last forever, but once they drop an egg, as far as I'm aware, they'll have problems with that. So I can't see a way to get the eggs out. There's a thing here that drops the meat up there, but I thought once an egg goes in there, they'll stop reproducing. 1 second. Let's spawn in a Paku egg and see what happens to these fish. You're confined in glum. No. Still no problems? Seriously? No. There's got to be some way to get the eggs out of there, because... okay, I'll leave it and see, but I don't think that's going to work. Oh, and over here we have a arrow pot with a spore kit in it. Yep, there is 2 million zombie spore germs in there just to make life more interesting. Also comes with its own nature reserve. There's a barracks up here for 8 duplicants. A couple extra fit down here, and that automatic dispensers to dump the eggs into that corner. Food up, all the meat from the fish gets dumped out here, gets picked up by the other sweeper, fed to the electric grill. Once it's cooked into seafood, it is then dumped into this conveyor loader, which sends it all the way across here to its cold storage section. Cold storage is mounted on the bottom of the rock, bottom down here above the steam turbines, which is very space efficient. And it's cooled down by ethanol in this instance. So the ethanol is actually running out of an aqua tuner, saves a little bit on power. Well, technically, if you're using a thermal regulator, it's about 240 watts. This thing takes 1200, but does an awful lot more cooling per watt if you're using a liquid instead of a gas. Oh, the math should work out that way. Anyway, it's also putting its cooling up here. And that cooling is cooling down these metal plates, and there's a door in here that injects cooling into the oxygen. So all the oxygen that's coming out of this thing gets dumped in here, and then this oxygen gets cooled down by these metal plates. Now, there's a temperature sensor up here, and yeah, 35. Let's make that, if it's above, or if it's below, 33. How's that? Door engages, starts chilling everything down. Done. Actually, just put that back to 35 for now. There's no point messing around. But that means this thing, this thing does double duty, cooling the entire base and cooling down your food. Now, if any duplicants want to get access to that food, they can't. However, there's a fridge here, 2 kilos, set to hold cooked seafood. So anytime they take seafood out of this fridge, the auto sweeper activates, picks up seafood from down there, dumps it into the fridge, and great haul. Done. That's actually a really, I like the way they've done this. I mean, I'm still not sure that Pacu stuff is going to work, but everything else, hell yeah. Now, why are you peeing your pants? There's no water for how is there no water for the toilet? Oh, the thimble reed. Right, so the thimble reed is not eating the polluted water, and because of that, the toilet has backed up. Well, there's always going to be problems. Yeah, we'll just... Damn it. Oh, God. It's a tsunami. Stop it. Oh, no. Okay then, so... some quick heat gun treatment and we got the thimble reed going again. The temperatures here have evened out. Everything seems fine-ish. So this should work from now on. Though, I would not go with liquid duplication. It's a step too far. I know we're playing casual and we're just allowing ourselves a little bit of leeway. And I'm even thinking, yeah, massive liquid compression seems like a fun way of solving a problem. I just can't go the liquid duplication route. It seems just like a step too far. Takes it just a little bit of the fun, you know? But, gases-wise, the gas filtration, yeah, carbon dioxide flows down towards the bottom. This gas pump rips it out. A little bit of a filtration system going on here. All the excess gets dumped out into the background of space. This is nice. There's a lot of good... Oh, I should really point out, I'm going through these in chronological order as I receive them. So some people did them in half a day. Some people had a few days to do them because I put this up on Monday and now it's Thursday. So depending on when people sent them in, they had more and more time. So you can see they're getting more and more complicated as people had more and more time to tweak and fix things. There's a freaking sauna here. How do you even... Oh, you're pumping steam up from the nuclear reactor. That's a risky strategy. A bold move. How do you... Oh, and then it dumps the water right back in. Oh, that is... Oh my god, that is totally baller. That is perfect. Does that actually produce the same amount of water as you put in? That would be excellent. If that was the case, we could run a sauna off nuclear reactor water and then feed the water right back in. Ooh, I like that. I like that idea a lot. That seems... Okay, I mean... Okay, if that's possible, I need to do some experimentation with that, but I would really like to be able to put a sauna in here. That would just be... It would be a level of styling that just... beautiful. Ooh, you know what we could do? Rip out the Pacu. Shovels. Shovels would do this, would literally serve the same function. We just have to replace those tiles with obsidian so that they couldn't dig through them. And same thing. In fact, we could seal this off entirely. We could put a metal block here so that the heat from the reactor would cause this place to be like 150, 200 degrees. And that way the shovelholes wouldn't turn into delectables as often. It'd be more likely to stay as regular shovelholes because it's only if their temperature goes below, I think it's 80 degrees or it's 100 degrees, bowls can turn into delectables, which are just terrible. They're not nearly as good meat-wise. That could work. And then replace this section up here with an infinite water storage for clean water. The thimble reeds, I would actually prefer to go with mutated thimble reeds that grow 4 times as fast, but wild plant them. Now, they would need radiation to grow, but that's not an issue. We can either plant them on the top of the map. What's the rads around here? 250 rads. Ooh, could be a problem. But then again, we have a whole area down here that's got like plenty of rads going on. Oh, that'll go into the design phase. But I'm thinking mutated thimble reeds for down here. Infinite storage. Yeah, I like this. Oh, and I also really like this section down here. This is just an efficient way to chill your food and chill the oxygen. I mean, okay, it's not too power efficient, but you can swap out the ethanol for supercoolant once you get your hands on that. It's just a good way to start your rocket now and then upgrade it later on to make it even more energy efficient. I don't think we have ethanol, but we can source that. We've got some poke shells that we can use for wood with some mutations and stuff. There's ways of getting the ethanol. I like it. I like it a lot. And I completely forgot the hydrogen venting door. If the hydrogen pressure in here gets too high, I got an automation signal right here, and you can turn this on to open the door. And if the pressure drops too low, the door automatically closes due to this atmo sensor. Nice little way of just venting the hydrogen when you don't need it, but if you do need the hydrogen, you can pump it out. In fact, you could take that hydrogen and pump it out, where is it, the gas vents? Yeah, down here. So you land on a planet, you want hydrogen on it to run a little local power generator somewhere, or maybe to make hydrogen fuel. I like that. Just not lots of nice little details in there to make that really convenient. Also, the fact that they're wearing those green jackets. I really have to invest in those lime green jackets. They look kind of cool. Timo here has gone a similar route in a lot of respects, but some of the stuff is, well, cleaner. Oh, just for example, like the little mini gas pump down here that filters out the carbon dioxide. It's hooked up to a gas element sensor. If there's no carbon dioxide down here, it turns off. Just little things like that to, make things just that little bit smoother. Oh, here is a thermoregulator that's cooling down this section here, which cools down the food. Food gets picked up by, where is it? This auto sweeper that sweeps the food into that fridge over there that's set to 1 kilo, so cooked seafood. Over here, this place is where all the food is actually cooked, and that comes from, well, this fish over here. These paku are in here. The eggs get shuffled in there by going into that conveyor loader. The meat gets shuffled into this conveyor loader, which sends it down to this section. And there's a bunch of those conduction panels in the background. Those conduction panels help cool everything down. Personally, I would have just dumped everything into that conveyor loader. And then what you can do is just use a solid filter. Just one solid filter down here would filter out all the meat, while all the rest would be the eggs, and they'd go over there. Actually, no, eggshells as well. Do you need the eggshells? You know what? Doesn't matter. This seems to be vacuum storage. For example, there is 2000 centigrade niobium. So instead of storing it inside your rocket, not that we all haven't cooked our rocket several times by trying to bring niobium back and then realizing it's cooking the inside of our rocket and then desperately having problems. No, that's only happened to all of us, I'd say. You could instead have the niobium and just, well, using the new move to command, you could just have it move there, or you could dump in a storage container or something here and it's vacuum sealed behind at the back of the rocket. Nice thinking. I'm definitely going to need some sort of vacuum area for hot rock storage. 2 separate bedrooms, then you've got, of course, your water filtration, tiny little bathroom. I'm definitely going with a bathroom this size. Now, technically, you don't need a sink. You don't need a sink because the duplicants are going to be exposed to enough rads in space that all the germs on them are just going to die off. However, you do need the sink if you want the mood bonus. So if you want the +2 morale, you do need to put the sink in, and I think the morale is worth it. Bedroom-wise, you're going with a normal barracks, great hall over here. No nature reserve. You could, in theory, turn this place into a natural park if you took out the exosuit forge here and moved it outside the rocket when you landed. But no, don't need to mess with that. I definitely like this little setup down here. Also like the food setup we had in the last rocket. There's just too many good ideas. Oh, and I'm pretty sure there's some more radiation lensing going on down here. Like it's 2,500 rads down here. Then it's suddenly 7,000. It's kind of crazy. There's also a lot of dead space up here that I think could be utilized a lot better. But, oxygen production. Same as the last one, except they've even miniaturized even more. They have a single hydrogen tile. Just there. That's it. There's a single hydrogen tile. That's where all the hydrogens go and the oxygen gets pushed at the side around into here. Now, I am thinking that considering the way these things are all hydrogen up, oxygen left, the electrolyzer should really go on the right-hand side of the map. So ripping out the bedrooms and putting them over there seems like a good plan. More experimentation on that would be required. And what's just truly baller is they stuck a jukebox in the middle of the dining hall. That's, yeah, I have no problems with that whatsoever. In fact, what's the schedule at? Much better. We should probably invest in a sauna, though. The sauna just sounds far more baller. Radioactive sauna in space? How can you say no? I mean, if we can fit in a jukebox on top of that, that would be cool. But, you know, we're going to be limited here. We've got limited space to work with, and we've got to fit in as much as we can and make it as self-sustained as possible. I have definitely come around, though, to split bedrooms. The side bedroom rack that was in it to start, that does seem useful, but being able to just chuck in the bedrooms in two smaller, more quantized parts definitely help out a lot. And that cooked seafood, or the whole seafood thing, yeah, definitely the food is going to go somewhere along the bottom. Yeah, I like looking at all these new different designs because they give you an idea of what works and what doesn't work quite so well. But yeah, definitely stealing the gas element center with the mini gas pump. We don't need it, but I definitely want it. Oh, and they're dumping their gas into the background of space instead of out the vent, which could be important. You see, if we're using this rocket for exploration, sometimes the vents don't dump out in space, or they only dump out when you land, or vice versa. I've always had problems with those, so dumping into space might be an option. Though I think I've thought of another way to seal off the top of the map. We'll cover more on that in the end. We got a few more to go. Mike here decided to go a totally different direction, and I love that. This is... Okay, let's... First, there's an interplanetary launcher. Now, I wouldn't advise you to try to use that while you're in space, because I think that crashes the game, or it did last I checked. But according to him, when you're landed, it works just fine. So when you're landed on a planet, just say you had some boiling hot niobium, you could dump it into the interplanetary launcher and just get rid of it. Fire it off back to your home base to get processed. Or you could just process it where you are. You've got a metal refinery on board. Oh, wow. Okay, so... metal, petroleum, yeah, comes in here, gets dumped down, rotated through here, and back up into the metal refinery. Interesting plan. I like that. That is pretty baller. Not only that, mission control station. This wasn't in it last I checked, but this actually provides guidance data to rocket pilots within range to improve rocket speed. And since it's literally in the rocket, I'm going to assume this rocket would be in range. Also, it's got a telescope for exploration, so when you're out on the map, you can explore and speed up your rocket movement. Jukebox, arcade cabinet, because of course there is. We've got yourself your recreation room, nature reserve, washroom, great hall, laboratory. However, it goes entirely on berry sludge. This is a berry sludge only mission, namely because all of the space is taken up with everything else. For example, there are lead suit docks here, so that duplicants can come into this section and work it. I think there's ways, though, we can simplify that. But this I like. I really like... Oh, damn it, there's too many things I want to do now. I want to like make a rocket that has a metal refinery, maybe not a diamond press. I think the diamond press is a step too far, and that's coming from me. Like, respect, Mike, that is just nice. Oh, and look at this. Radbolt generators, 4 of them strapped to the top of a nuclear reactor, all powered by said nuclear reactor, firing the radbolts through the napta to a radbolt joint plate in a vacuum that shoots the radbolts up. And you can either have them feed into the diamond press, and if the diamond press overfills, it'll keep going this direction, fly up, across, and then into the interplanetary launcher. If the interplanetary launcher is full, it just flies off into space, meaning duplicants can use this without fear of getting zapped. So they have put in a duplicate motion sensor to turn off the radbolt collection if anyone is using this. This is... Yes, this is all sorts of yes, but I think we could get rid of the lead suit docks with proper insulation down here so that the duplicates wouldn't get roasted. There's ways around that. But mission control station is now another objective I want to try and to cram into this. This is beautiful. I love the different views people give on these things. For our last base, we have Mark here, and Mark here stole the little trick I wanted to use at the end. Or, well, actually, no, he just sort of knew this one. Refined carbon. Now, the thing is, when it comes to refined carbon, there's these 3 tons of refined carbon. You can see here, I think you would need about 2.4, 2.6 tons. But basically, if you make refined carbon and you get up to about 2.6 tons, it blocks 100% of all radiation. Unfortunately, there's still the lensing effect to deal with when it comes to water. So, yeah, it still caused some issues. Yeah, I don't know what that is. That bug has been reported. However, this refined carbon, it's actually not that hard to make. For example, what you can do is make a temperature shift plate out of coal. That only has, 800 kilos in it? but you heat that up to 276.9 degrees, and it will turn into a block of 800 kilos of refined carbon. Now, to make 3 tons, all you'll do is have to grab some coal, leave 3 tons on the ground, and then heat up the coal debris, and the coal debris will turn into 3 tons of refined carbon, giving you a perfect seal for all of that radiation. Very nice little trick. I wanted to try and steal it, but yeah, looks like Mark got there before me. Good job. Anyway, down the side here, they've got oxygen production. They're using the same thing. Electrolyzer, hydrogen flows down the side. They've got 2 gas pumps to pump it out. Now, they've got their infinite liquid storage over here. This seems to be oxygen. So they're basically just pumping it in from the side. It flows out of the oxygen and boom, you've got your infinite liquid storage. I've never realized how many different ways they were to set up infinite liquid storage, including the naphtha one at the bottom. That was just weird. But anyway, that gives you your water, and the water provides the cooling to the oxygen. So all the oxygen comes down here, waits in this section, and the cooling provided by the incoming water is what chills the oxygen, so the oxygen can feed the base. Now, from what I can tell, there doesn't seem to be any crops or anything around here, so you don't have to worry about keeping the base too cool. Food storage is over here. You stick down, whatever, 2 million calories of frost buns or whatever you want, and you're done. And it's these little triple locks here. The reason for these triple locks, they give you a vacuum seal right in the middle. There's no gases in here, so the chill can't escape. And at the same time, because there's this little gap, they'll jump across the top, and because they're in midair when they pass through the liquids, they don't get the soggy debuff. So they're able to hop through, grab their food, and then hop back out again. In terms of rooms, we've got yourself recreation room, of course, nature reserve, great hall, washroom, bedrooms on the side. This is a very, very basic setup on the rooms, but what I really enjoy is just that refined carbon layer. I am definitely exploiting the bejesus out of that. So knowing that even with the refined carbon layer that the water bug still exists is a little bit depressing. We might have to do our liquid storage on the right-hand side. I was thinking anyway of doing the oxygen on the right-hand side, so infinite liquid storage over that side doesn't sound like a bad idea to go with it. Anyway, let me check the time here. 46 minutes. Okay, I'm way over. I'm way over. But I think we've got all the information we need to put together the perfect rocket. Well, not perfect, but the best compromise between positioning and everything like that. We've definitely learned where we want to place everything. It's just a case of putting all those little bits and pieces together. However, putting together the final rocket will be the next episode. We have really run out of time. Now, apologies to the people whose designs I didn't show. It was either because the ones beforehand had kind of done everything that had been shown, and it was just there was a lot of overlap between some of the designs, just a few, and they just kind of got left to the wayside because there was nothing new that could be said about that. Apologies. Next episode, though, we're going to take all of the stuff we learned and we're going to put it together in a rocket that's going to hopefully be, well, okay, like a whole bunch of this has to go. We've already got the refined carbon in for the design. 2,600 kilos gives you 100% protection. And I think I know exactly... You know what? Next episode. I'm going to cut this out here. I hope you enjoyed. Good luck. Also, this has reminded me how much I miss doing the base loving series. If anyone's got any good bases they'd like to share, just send them in. Email us in the about section of the channel. I'd love to do a few more base loving episodes.